movie fans, so I don't know about you, but I personally love movie soundtracks, whether that be the score that's actually accompanying the film when you actually see it, or some of the various songs that are used in the film that ultimately make it to the soundtrack. They're two different things, but either way, I love both of them. But today, we're going to focus on the soundtrack. What happens when there's a horrible movie that gets a soundtrack way better than it actually deserves? That's what we're going to count down today, the top 5 best soundtracks to bad movies. Now, you can like some of these movies, but by and large, the movies on this list are not generally well received. But if you like them, more power to you. As is the case with number 5, Twilight. Yeah, believe it or not, Twilight has a pretty good soundtrack of a variety of different sounds, and definitely not what you'd expect from a Twilight soundtrack. I personally was turned off from it for a long time because people were like, it's the Twilight soundtrack. It doesn't sound very appealing because the movies themselves are terrible. But someone was like, you gotta listen to it. I was like, whatever. I was like, okay, this is not bad. This is genuine. This actually sounds like effort was put into it, unlike the Twilight movies themselves. At number 4, we have Godzilla. No, not the 2014 version. I'm talking about the Godzilla. You know, the bad one. Godzilla 98. Now, this may be the movie that's the most dated on our list, but it's still quite enjoyable to listen to hear a lot of that late 90s cheese. You've got a whole bunch of different sounds, and yeah, it's a very late 90s soundtrack, but if you want to take a trip back in time to hear the music of that era, and frankly, really, the soundtrack deserved to be in a much better movie, because Godzilla 98, as we all know, is bad, but none of the songs in this really fit into that movie, and I think that's why the soundtrack works. At number 3, we have Daredevil. Yeah, this is back when we thought Ben Affleck couldn't be a good superhero. Thanks, Batman v Superman. You did at least something right, and you showed Ben Affleck could be a great hero. Yeah, let's go back in time, though, to talk about Daredevil when he really stunk it up. Daredevil is often regarded as one of the worst superhero movies of all time. It's pretty bad. However, the soundtrack is frankly really good. It's 2000s rock, basically at its finest. Some of the biggest names in rock for 2003 are all on this CD. The CD itself is dark, mysterious, grungy, and emotional at times. Something the film probably should have been, but absolutely was not. So, in that essence, the CD captured the heart of Daredevil better than the Daredevil movie itself. That should say a lot about both the CD and the movie. At number 2, we have Batman Forever. Now, I know some people that like Batman Forever, and that's fine. That's cool. You can like Batman Forever. I personally am not a big fan of it, but it's Citizen Kane compared to Batman and Robin, which is... But Batman Forever... The soundtrack, however, gave us one of the most well-known power ballads of all time. Kiss from a Rose by Seal. That, in and of itself, just puts it on this list. How it fits into the actual context of the movie still baffles my mind. It's just kind of there. If anything, Kiss from a Rose should have been in Batman and Robin with Poison Ivy, now that I think about it. But as a whole, the soundtrack is still pretty solid. It's still quite enjoyable to listen to. It's a bit cheesy at times, like the film itself, but it's a lot better than the movie, and it's a lot better than people give it credit for. So just because the movie's bad, don't overlook its soundtrack, because that may actually be better than the movie itself. As is the case often with our number 1, because our number 1 includes multiple entries. I kind of cheated a little bit. But the movies that always are pretty bad in my mind, but have amazing soundtracks, I always look forward to the movies to come out just to get the soundtrack. The Transformers movies. Michael Bay, he's really not my favorite director, and that's about the nicest thing I could say about him, except for 1 or 2 movies. I like the first Transformers, and I like Armageddon. Those movies, they're good. By and large, Michael Bay is a hit-or-miss director, but he's definitely not one of my favorites. However, his soundtracks are always right on point, and especially with Transformers. Like, every year I get excited, because it's basically every year that we get new Transformers at this rate, but every time there's a new Transformers movie, I'm like, alright! Not because I'm going to see the movie. I barely remember anything about the third one. I didn't even see the fourth one in the theaters. But the soundtracks themselves are always a really good blend of a lot of different sounds, making me go, okay, Michael Bay, I really don't know if I'd want to hang out with you, but I'd want to hear your Spotify playlist if you had one. Every Transformers soundtrack is really good. Like, I just pop that in from time to time and listen to that just because it's a good blend of songs. Like, it's bands that you've heard, but mixed in a way that it's something new. It's fun. Something Transformers movies should be, but at this point kind of feel old and stale. Well, what are some of the best movie soundtracks that you listen to? Good movie or bad movie? Comment below and let me know. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at 17 Movie Reviews. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals!